I am here with Adam Corcoran today. We are sitting down talking about his book, um, You versus You. There you go. You versus You. It's a nice little plug there for it.
Yes.
I know Adam. Jesus, how many years do I know you now? Like three? Is it two, three?
About 2.5, 3 years, I'd
For two
say.
and a half, 3 years. Adam's been training with me in SBG with Built to Last Fitness. He's been training me for that period of time. Obviously, we met in the gym. Adam is one of the coaches in SBG. He is a brown belt under John Kavanagh. He is a black belt in Judo who has represented Ireland. And he's been training me for the last 2.5 years. And recently, I think this was only like, I want to say like maybe 3, 4 months ago, you mentioned something about, I'd like to start writing. I've always wanted to. And now you've got a full book, like out and all. So like, first off,
Yeah.
before we get into that, tell the people, I already told them a little bit, but tell the people a little bit about yourself and how this kind of book thing kind of came about and a little bit about what it's about.
Yeah, I suppose. I suppose to take it back a step.
Yeah.
I suppose when I was in my mid-20s, life wasn't so great. I found myself living in a converted cattle shed out in the arse end of nowhere, in rural Ireland, outside Kells. I was overweight at the time. I was failing my master's degree, working an internship for peanuts. My girlfriend at the time broke up with me because I didn't have any money.
Nice.
I was so poor. I was so poor. Like I couldn't even afford to go in in the cinema where they give you like midweek deals for like €5.
Yeah.
I couldn't even afford that. It was terrible. I drove an ancient Nissan Micra at the time. And it was like 1989. The thing leaked petrol, so if you filled it up with like €20 petrol, like at least €10 of it would fall on the floor, right? It'd drip down. Anytime I went over like 60 kilometers, the thing would start rattling. I was like, man, it was just things were rough, and I suppose, at that time I got severely depressed. I suppose, it felt like my life's falling apart. What is this? I had done judo before. I competed judo internationally for Ireland. That was kind of over because there wasn't much funding for adult competitors in Ireland at the time. A lot of it was going on to the junior scene, and really like now with any Olympic sport, if you don't really show too much promise before you're 20, 21, funding gets cut quite a lot.
Yeah.
So look, I lived in a converted cattle shed that my dad built for me.
Good
Converted
man.
cattle shed, throw up a whole bunch of plastered walls, everything. It was damp. It was, I was just out there on my own, away from, friends as well. And it's, I got depressed. I was listening to like Linkin Park at the time, that song like Crawling, and that sings like, there's something deep within me and it's pulling me. And, I just felt like, is this all that life has to offer, right? Because I was so depressed, like so many times, I'd look at my black belt that I got in judo, and some dark thoughts, man, where you go in and say, like, I'm going to go to a secluded tree and this is going to be it, and really got depressed. But I suppose, the reason why I mentioned that is because martial arts played a big role in kind of bringing me back from the brink. And I suppose at the time, there was a lot of martial artists that I look up to and a lot of role models as well. So like I was looking at these guys and girls and saying, man, if they can do it, like, well, what's their secret? You know what I mean? Why do they look so happy and I'm not, right? And at the time, I had started, to move into SBG as well. Started training with the pro MMA team there, jiu-jitsu. I did wrestling. I did Muay Thai, kickboxing, boxing, you name it. I did it. It was more like a kind of fight club thing, where you just do it to, de-stress, and eventually I started focusing, I suppose, exclusively on jiu-jitsu, and I found like there was a parallel between jiu-jitsu in the sense that you learn how to twist people into pretzels, that I could
Yeah,
twist
yeah,
my
yeah.
own problems, my life problems, if I approach it the same way, you know, that I, you know, if there was a problem in front of me, okay, well, look, we can, you know, pass guard around it. We can do this, whatever it is. And, you know, jiu-jitsu provided me with a kind of framework, I suppose, for my internal conflict resolution, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
mental and emotional conflict. And that's really what it provided me with.
Yeah, yeah. And like you, as you said, like you were looking at other martial artists that you looked up to. Talking to Adam, honey, I'm doing an interview with him. Go get it, go get it. Sorry.
Should
So like
not
you,
have brought up, you know, severe
Penny.
depression in front of a child.
Don't worry, it's all in me headphones. She doesn't know all this. You know. Go on, hon. Yeah, so like you were looking at other martial artists at the time. You were looking at why they were so happy, and obviously you found martial arts as an output for you to release your kind of like emotional conflict that you're going through at the time as well. And because of that, would that have been the original kind of inspiration for the book itself? Like that
Yeah,
time in your life?
100%. Yeah, 100%. Like, you know, that's when I was in my mid-20s. So that was about 3 to 4 years ago, you know,
Yeah.
and that I was going through my own personal abyss. And I suppose the reason for the book is that if it can help one other person, like the reason why I wrote this book is because it's not because I think, you know, oh, I'm some great martial artist, you know what I mean? I'm some pasty ginger kid from Ireland that found the happiness, you know what I mean? And here's all these great people. Right?
Talking about pasty, I'm looking at myself in the video there, and it looks like my head is melding in with the white wall behind me. Need to get a new background, but yeah, like you know, as you were saying there, like you know, like it's not that you're like you know some top of the food chain type martial artist, but it played a massive role in your life, man.
Yeah, 100%. But also, you know, if we look at great martial artists throughout history, like I'm not great. I'm not a world champion. You know what I mean? I have a few international medals, but I'm not great. I'm just a student that sits one desk over from the people that, you know, pick up this book, you know, and I suppose there's not an autobiography, you know, this is not an autobiography. This is about actual martial artists. And I suppose the key thing that I was looking at when I was looking at other martial artists and other role models saying, my God, how do they approach life this way? You know, they're fully confident. You know, if we take MMA fighters, for example, those guys are like ultra confident. They have the ability to go out in front of millions of people, half naked, you know, and take wins and losses in their stride, right? And I'm looking at that going, what's their secret? And really, and I suppose I started researching, I started interviewing martial artists, MMA fighters for this book. And the thing I found was, like, you don't have to want to be a two-weight world champion in MMA, right? It's not the goal for a vast amount of people, right? A vast amount of people don't take shins to the face. We don't grapple for position against the steel cage. What we're actually interested in is we all experience the same emotions. And at one point or another, these great martial artists all experienced anger, frustration, hopelessness, you know, sadness, happiness. And these negative emotions, you know, the negative emotions that we find ourselves in every day, these martial artists who have happened to go on and done great things have also experienced it. So actually, if we need a framework for conflict resolution, whether that be, you know, physical conflict resolution, you throw a punch at me, duck, takedown, choke, right? Or it's emotional conflict, or it's mental, you know, this internal civil war that everybody goes through, whether you're a single mother trying to make it, whether you're an intern in a company trying to get on, you know, the corporate ladder. We're all fighters. We can all learn something from martial artists. These you know, martial artists that have gone out and done great things.
Yeah, like as you're saying there, like people, like, you know, you don't have to have trained in martial arts, even if you're just a fan, like, or even a casual fan. But like, there's lessons to be learned from that pursuit itself. You know,
100%.
So even just looking for a different avenue or looking for a different path, as you said, to deal with conflict resolution, like a martial arts career, if they're a professional, like, and they fight on a regular basis, whether it's boxing or kickboxing or MMA, their goal is to resolve a conflict in the simplest way you can put it. So, like, two people in a cage, in a ring, on a platform like that. What's that? That's that new Karate Combat League or whatever that Bas Rutten's mad about.
Yeah.
And I think, but like, it's all about resolving a conflict. The conflict for them is a physical conflict between another person. But a conflict is a conflict. Resolving something is resolving something. And whether, like, even though they have to go through obviously the physical aspect of it, the conflict with another person, in their head is a totally different conflict at the same time.
100%.
It's a mental and it's an emotional conflict at the same time, and that's where the lesson can be learned. Not wanting to do something, but wanting to do it at the same time. I'm sure, like, I remember having conversations with guys in SPG when I used to train, and it was the same thing. Like, they don't want to fight all the time, but they love it at the same time. It's a conflict within itself, and it's that resolution of those conflicts that they learn and they grow from, and they can use that energy in their day-to-day life as well.
Yeah, 100%. So even if we think about martial arts, like, I suppose the general public's knowledge of martial arts, you either think of one of two things. You either think of like an ancient Asian dude in a robe with a wispy beard, that can shrivel a man's ball sack with chi energy, or you think of like an average MMA fighter, right? Like this mongoloid creature dragging their knuckles along the ground. Their IQ isn't great, but they're rough. But like those are common misconceptions, because if we actually step back and look at martial arts throughout history, that was developed as the most efficient way to resolve physical conflict. And then if we take it back a step further, the foundations of karate, taekwondo, judo, jiu-jitsu, they're all about the most efficient way to not only do the physical conflict, the punches, the kicks, the takedowns, but then also, they focused as much on the mental side as they did on the physical side. And I think that's important to remember, like we do have this misconception that martial arts is just swinging punches at each other or kicking air.
I think a lot of that does kind of come from modern kind of martial arts to a certain extent. Like, as you said, like if you look at ancient, like that kind of older kind of preconceived notions of it, it would have been kind of like more known to mainstream people through movies and Bruce Lee and stuff like that, And we forget nowadays that there is that kind of like I think Bruce Lee is a great example, because like he was really into philosophy and psychology, like that was his studies in college. So like the psychological side of martial arts was a big thing for him, and how it impacted his life in a mental way as well as a physical way. And that's again another way of dealing with those conflicts on a regular basis, is the actual mental strength and the meditation side and that side of it as well. So when it comes to the book, like how did you go about laying the book out? What was the overall kind of goal of the book? Like, what is the overall kind of the outcome of the book? Like, what were you trying to resolve in itself?
Yeah. So actually, the reason why I did all this typing in the first place, not to come away and say, hey, look how great these martial artists are. Originally, this just started as a journal for me. That I would take a martial artist and I would see what kind of life lessons I can learn from, right? So like I would look at Helio Gracie, for example, the man many consider, to have put Brazilian in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, right? But people forget, like, his story is incredible, and there's a lot of inspiration and motivation that can be drawn from even Helio's story, and like he was a string bean of a man, never went over 65 kilograms. He used to suffer from fainting spells for the first 12 years of his jiu-jitsu career. His brothers would practice jiu-jitsu, and he wouldn't be allowed to join in because he was deemed too physically frail and weak, right, to join. And it's just by chance that his older brother Carlos didn't show up one day for a private lesson with a rich kid that Helio was there and taught the kid. Kid couldn't get enough of it, and then asked Carlos, could Helio teach him? You know, but that took 12 years of persistent action on Helio's part, you know, to
To get
actually open the door. You know, so that's one example. And I started kind of finding these, you know, I'd write down these little stories, you know what I mean, to kind of help myself, you know, when I kind of felt down, and I'd look at, you know, these inspirational martial artists, and then, you know, I'd be a little bit more comforted in myself.
I get you.
And it started off, and then, you know, I suppose more recently this year, you know, I had a whole wealth of research, we're talking thousands of pages, you know, of these written notes. And then somebody had said to me, you know, you're being a bit of a selfish dick if you don't put this out. Right? Like, you have nothing to lose. You know what I mean? Like, the aim of this book is not to make money. You know, the profits go to suicide awareness charity. You know, it's to help people, I suppose, you know, who find themselves in similar situations. And if it helps one person, job done. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So at first it was just a project essentially just for yourself, and then it kind of culminated into this kind of bigger thing. You said you had like thousands of pages. What was your process of kind of breaking it down into obviously a more digestible read from thousands and thousands of pages? What were you kind of focusing on to kind of get the best out of it?
Yeah, 100%. So I suppose my process was, okay, well, let's see what it looks like in a book. What needs to be done here, you know? So I split them out actually into emotions that we talked about earlier, you know, and the life lessons. So I learned, you know, to take 100% responsibility, you know, for my reactions in life from Helio Gracie. I learned a great life lesson off Helen Morales, right? Helen Morales, who's you know, Olympic wrestling champion, first female American wrestling champion. You know, she talks about fear and the fact that she's afraid of everything, but it doesn't hold her back, you know, and she has a great story about overcoming adversity. She bet a Japanese megastar in wrestling who had won 3 Olympics, 13 world championships, however many Asian games, you know, she was undefeated, you know, and Helen gave her first loss in the final of the Rio Olympics. And then afterwards, she said, I am absolutely petrified of anything, right? She has the of a church mouse. But that, you know, she says, when I feel fear, you know, that's a sign that I'm on the right track, that I'm doing the right things, that if I'm so obsessed with fear, it kind of takes away from my creativity. And I'm like, God, that's a perfect life lesson. You know, how many times have I felt afraid of doing something, putting myself out there? You know, somebody's going to call me a ginger dickhead, right? You know, all these kind of things that hold us back. Well, actually, we should feel that fear and go from there. And there's 20 chapters in the book. Each one takes a life lesson from martial artists. Nothing got to do with me. There's a little bit of discussion on my part just to see, you know, how these things fit in together with general life. But,
I get you.
You know, overall, been very well received. And it's, again, not an autobiography.
Yeah, no, that's actually a very good point there, because I think a lot of people can take a lesson away from just what you're saying there about fear, how there's things in life that we want to do, but we are afraid to do them. And like that fear comes through. I've felt that myself in the past, where I've been afraid to do something. And the biggest lesson I was ever taught by somebody was like, anytime your body or your mind is telling you not to do something out of fear or anxiety or any of those negative emotions, generally it's kind of a preservation kind of act of your mind, but it's not one that benefits you. You know, you kind of have to look at that situation as like, is me being afraid of this and is me not acting through this going to benefit me in any way, shape or form? And if it's not, then just go ahead with it anyway, even if you are afraid. Like it's not like, oh, if I jump off this cliff, I'm going to die. It's usually things that, as you said, somebody might call you a dickhead, or you might fall flat on your face a little bit and not succeed the first time. but it's not something that's ever actually going to kill you or hurt you or put you in a position where you're not going to survive. It's usually the silly things, the little things that, again, are probably going to leave some type of maybe emotional kind of damage, in the sense that you'll feel like, oh crap, that didn't work out the first time, or oh, that was tough. And sometimes your mind will protect you from that as well, even though it doesn't necessarily have to, because if you follow through with it, something beneficial might happen. And that's something that a lot of people like go through life in a negative mindset. They feel like, all right, I'm not going to act on this because I'm afraid.
Yeah, 100%. And even going back as well, like you must have so many clients, who think, who feel very insecure about being in a gym, right? Or so many potential clients, right? Like, oh man, I'm not going to wear this t-shirt. It's a bit tight around my stomach or whatever it is, and
that's
they hold themselves back, right? Yeah, 100%. And it's scary to be in a gym environment, like, I'm not immune to that. When I was chubbly overweight in my master's degree, long before I met you, Mark, like I was very self-conscious going into a gym. But you can't let that hold you back, because the payoff is infinitely more, than what your aunt thinks.
Like, but no, like that's it. It's those small things, like not that small, like it's something that might seem minuscule to one person might be massive to another person, not physically, but in their head. So looking at one person saying, why would they feel embarrassed to go into a gym? It's like, well, you have to put yourself in their shoes. You have to put yourself in their where in their position and what they've gone through in life. If you've been ridiculed for something in the past, even though it seems small to one person, it's not small to another person. Different things that we've all gone through affect us in different ways. My girlfriend always says that my brother must have been affected by my mom and dad separating. Totally different to me, because we're very close age-wise. So, like, our personalities are completely different. So she's like, I bet you he acts a certain way because of things like that. And just because you look at it from an outside perspective does not mean that it didn't affect somebody in a certain way. So, like, 100%. That's fear, even though it might seem small to you. And that's another reason why people don't follow through with things, is because they're like, geez, I'm just being stupid. I'll just leave it. It's like, it's not stupid. The very first time I done a video for my business page, 45 minutes sitting in my car, because I was like, oh shit, people, I kept on thinking, oh, people can still hear me here. And I was in my car in a car park, I was like, what are you talking about? Little things like that. People don't realize, like, you go through little fears like that. Did you have, like, when you were writing this, like, I'm sure you went through a full range of emotions, like,
Oh, without a doubt, yeah. My God. And it dredged up a lot of stuff for me as well, because bear in mind, there's a lot of those notes that I wrote at the time to kind of pull myself out of depression that I hadn't looked at in years, that I was like, I felt okay, and I was like, oh, I haven't really, brought that up. But yeah, absolutely. And I think that's one of the benefits as well, to people who, fear what other people are thinking, and it's always different, right? Everybody's situation is different. And I would never say it's not, right? But a lot of inspiration and a lot of comfort can come from stories, as opposed to somebody being prescriptive, like, I'm not going to tell anybody that they need to go out to the craft store, get a vision board going, and that's exactly how you overcome this. It's not about that. This book is a book of stories of great martial artists and how they overcame emotional difficulties. We're not interested in the wins and losses. We're interested in how they overcame their personal struggles, in order to achieve success, or what they would, consider success.
Because again, like, that's another thing, is that everybody has a different measuring stick for what success is. Everybody has a different ideology for what success is. For some people, it could be, they want to, be the owner or CEO of a massive multi-million-dollar company. For some people, they just, want to have a house that they can chill out with their partner or significant others and just relax a little bit, so everybody's level of success is totally different, and whether it's like, somebody like wanting to deadlift 100 kilos, or somebody wanting to, again, simply just, get a little bit fitter. Like, goals are they're as big as you want them to be, and they're as small as you want them to be. But like what you consider successful and consider worthwhile to go after is up to you as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Even look at Helio Gracie. He practiced jiu-jitsu for 81 years. His first time being exposed to jiu-jitsu, like Queen Elizabeth II, was only 2 years old, right? The time of his last training session, a week before he died, was the same month that Barack Obama was sworn in as U.S. president. Now, what about that for a time frame of doing something that he actually liked, you know?
I don't recall ever hearing of Helio ever competing either. He wasn't a competitive guy. Now, I know that the Gracies had, like, you know, challenges come into the gyms and stuff like that, but I don't ever recall any or many stories of him being involved in any of them. It was always his students, you know?
No, 100%. Way back in the earlier days, he was definitely involved in some fights, you know, probably the most, like he bet freestyle wrestlers, he bet judo guys, jiu-jitsu guys, karate guys. There's a whole bunch of, you know, historical stories there of Helio actually going into fights. But I suppose the most notable one, and the one I talk about, the time that he took on a guy called Kimura, right? And you might, you might remember that name as the guy who invented Kimura, right? And armlock is named after him in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And Kimura had said, you know, Kimura was 90 kilos, Helio was 65. And it was a packed out stadium. The Brazilian president was there. And Kimura had openly remarked to say, if Helio Gracie lasts like 2 minutes with me on the mat, I'll consider it a victory for Helio Gracie. Helio Gracie lasted 13 minutes before eventually being submitted by Kimura via an armlock later called Kimura. But Helio had said it felt like a blender, you know. That's probably his most notable fight. There's another one there. He had like a student who had split off with him. Things had gotten sour. And then when Helio was 39 years old, there was a guy called Valdemar Santana, an up-and-coming Vale Tudo fighter who was formerly Helio's student. And that fight went on 3 hours and 40 minutes before Helio eventually lost, you know? Talk about persistence and everything like that. But yeah, absolutely. Like Helio is a really good source of inspiration.
Yeah. And so you said there's 20 chapters. Does each chapter deal, like, as you said, like deal with a different emotion going through it?
Yeah, 100%. So, I mean, like, you know, the chapters aren't saying like, hey, this is anger. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, Helio's chapter is called Surviving the Blender. You know, I didn't put much thought into the chapter names, I suppose, you know, but each one kind of deals with either a different aspect of martial arts that we can learn from. There's a chapter in there on training camps, for example, you know, like the actual real martial arts that we would consider, you know, make up MMA come from Olympic sports, right? They come from wrestling, taekwondo, and judo, boxing as well. What those four martial arts have, those four Olympic sports have in common is training camps, right? And if we think about training camps, like I've been to a few training camps, international training camps with judo, but there's a wealth of stories in there about taekwondo world champions being battered from pillar to post, you know, in training camps, and then coming out with the year of the Olympics and wiping the floor with everybody. And that's because training camps are like a really good place to fail, you know, and you really kind of have to fail before you succeed, you know, and it's okay to fail. There's a chapter on that. There's a chapter on, you know, all sorts of stuff. George St Pierre, how he built momentum, you know, chasing his goals. He used to work as a garbage man, door security. He got bet up by bullies as a kid. You know, they slammed his face into a desk, and there was about 4 or 5 bullies that constantly, you know, bet him up. It's all about like how he overcame those emotions and then started building momentum towards, you know, essentially one of the best UFC champions ever.
Yeah, one of the greatest martial arts of modern era, really.
100%, yeah. So look, I mean, the chapters deal with, you know, an aspect of martial art, how it translates into general life, and stories about people who did it. And that's really it. Yeah.
So with like talking about obviously George St Pierre, kind of build momentum towards his goals and how he set goals. Like, how did this come about? Because again, I remember only a couple of months ago you were saying I'd be interested in writing, and then you're going to start a blog, and you done one or two, and then obviously this whole, you know, isolation and, you know, COVID-19 thing, this all happened. You're at home, and you messaged me one day saying, "Oh yeah, finish that book." And it's like, that like obviously you had the spare time to kind of get it done with this whole thing, but how did you, like, as kind of setting a goal and now achieving the goal of writing a book and putting it out, like, tell us a little bit about that, like how you kind of came about that and like your steps towards that.
Yeah, 100%. So I started off with a whole wealth of, you know, journals and scraps of paper and stuff written down, you know, taken on my phone, screenshots of quotes, whatever it was. Tons of research, you know, and then I just decided one day, let's piece this all together into one book, you know, and I suppose the first thing I did was get it into an order that I thought, you know, a sequential order of things, you know, like I start off, and you know, there's a quote there by Marcus Aurelius, right, where he takes 100% responsibility for the things in his life. You know, there's an elegant formula written by Jack Canfield, which is E plus OR equals O, which is event plus response equals outcome. And when I came across that concept, you know, 3 or 4 years ago, it changed my life. You know, I got a tattoo on my wrist, right? And the event, and I suppose it's good in this current climate because the event, you know, is stuff that happens. We have no control over it. So that always remains constant, that E, right? But what can change is the OR, our response to events. And then that dictates the outcome. So if we take it as an example, coronavirus happened to everybody, right? There's literally nothing we can do to stop, you know, Donald Trump restricting funding for the World Health Organization, or how Leo Varadkar wants to, you know, introduce social distancing for another 2 months. We have, you know, absolutely no control over that. But what we can do is change our response, and that'll change the outcome of how we actually spend this time. And I suppose for me, at the start of this thing, I was looking at an opportunity. I'm finally going to get this book out the fucking door, you know, turn all these pages into something. And hey, you know, if somebody wants to read it and it helps them, job done. Like we talked about before. If it helps one person, you know, and I've gotten like 20 odd emails from people who have read the ebook already saying, thank you. You know, I have like strangers message me on Instagram. It's like surreal. You know, I really enjoyed your book. I'm like, this is excellent. Good job. You know, if you're ever in Ireland, you can come train with me when this is all over. Nice. You know, but I suppose taking that E plus OR equals O, I said, you know what? I can waste this time. I can get fat, you know, or I can actually utilize this spare time that I have when I'm not working, when I'm not training, you know, when I'm not spending time with my girlfriend, my dog, my cats, actually do something useful and provide value to people. And I suppose that's what really kickstarted it, you know. So I'd spend like, you know, my spare time going through editing stuff. And as well as that, you know, you can't really do something like this on your own, you know, like I'm independently published. I set up my own publishing organization / company, you know what I mean, to do this, Red Branch Media Incorporated, right? But you know, I handed it off to an editor. I said, what do you think of this? They cut the place into half, you know, the book by half. They said, oh, well, look at this would be better. I got beta readers as well, you know what I mean, to work a few chapters, mostly my family, you know what I mean? Hassle my brother. You know, my girlfriend has read the whole book. I sent the first draft. I sent on to John Kavanagh as well, just because, like, you know, we talk, you know, a bit, and you know, he had actually read the first draft. I had given him a first draft last year, and I had said, you know, hey, what do you think about this? You know,
Yeah.
into whatever. And he took it on a flight with him. And he took it out at the start of the flight, and he said, look, get a bit of reading done, you know what I mean? I don't know what this is going to be like. You know, one of my students just asked me to read this. And you know, a few months later, he reached out to me and said, can we have a chat about this? You know, love to write a forward for it. Endorsement. You know, his quote is on the front page, the front cover. He wrote a forward for it, and really enjoyed the read. You know, so like there's different things that go into it. You know, you have to have an editor. I tried recording, so my little microphone in front of me, I bought it on a whim to say I'm going to record my audio book. You know, didn't work out.
Right.
So, you know, I got an American voice actor, Mark Raby. He's the same guy who like narrated a couple of books, you know, Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck is one. So he's involved in that.
That's Not Giving a Fuck. Jesus, that penny dropped just out. Yeah, I literally, a couple of months ago, I finished that off. It was really, really good read. An audio book, really good listen it was.
There you go.
Really good book. Cool.
So the audio book for this is due to be released in May, which is good.
Nice.
Ebook, and just went through it all, pieced it together, had a good, you know, read out a lot of people, I think, and that's the key thing is you know, actually reaching out. Your support network is quite strong if you stand back and look at it. You know,
so
a lot of people willing to help.
So your thing with this like is, you had a goal, you needed to achieve it, but like it's not something that you can do on your own. And like if people can take a lesson away from that is like, don't be afraid to ask for help. Like when you have a goal, when you want to achieve them, especially if it's something that you really want to do. You know, if it's something that you really want to give a go at. Like, and it's not necessarily like, you know, as you know yourself, you did not expect this to be well received. You just wanted to put it out there.
That's it.
The fear comes from not knowing how people are going to react, you know, what you know, what people are going to say, but without actually holding on to that fear and not doing anything, if you go through with it, you can't necessarily do it on your own, or you don't have to expect to do it on your own. You can ask people to help. And again, like, you know, for other goals, for whatever it is, like it's about using that network of people that you have in your life to help you as much as possible, and to, you know, help them as much as possible as well, vice versa. You know, we all need people to help us get through our goals, you know. That was literally one of the few questions I got off people, was just about kind of motivation, like in general. Like, how did you stay motivated while doing this project? What was your motivations behind it, and what kept you going the whole way through? You know, obviously you probably hit some speed bumps along the way, so keep you motivated when you're doing something like this?
And a few setbacks as well, you know. My main concern was, you know, oh God, what if this gets picked up and then a martial artist, you know, comes out and say, hey, you can't write about me, you know. But that's fine, because it's all on public domain, so that's fine. So very good. Fuck them. But I suppose the motivation, you know, like it's a corny thing to say, but the motivation is to help. You know, like life becomes a lot easier for everybody when they stop fighting the fact that, you know, they care what people think, you know, or your ma was a bitch, your dad was a dickhead, and some kid in preschool bullied you once, you know, like that stuff is signed, sealed, delivered, you know, and we let it hold us back, you know. We're prisoners in our own mind when it comes to things. And I suppose when you're freed up, you know, truly emotionally free, mentally free, you're in a good place, why not, you know, do these things? Like I did this because I enjoyed doing it. And that's the one thing that I found out, you know, that I really enjoy writing. And if there's one person that listens to this video, Mark, you know what I mean? That's cool with me. You know, exactly. If this book had been released last week and got no likes, that's cool enough. You know what I mean? It's just one thing off the bucket list. Already working on the second book. You know what I mean? And that's really it, you know. Like the reason why I stay so motivated is because I enjoy doing it. I think it's
Yeah,
truly my
yeah,
passion, you know.
yeah. Cool. So like as I was saying, like you ran into some hiccups. Like you said you're already working on the next book. So again, like this question's like obviously connecting to each other. Staying motivated, like what keeps you motivated for the next thing? What keeps you working on the same thing? People go like the way I would look at it with my day-to-day clients would be like they have a goal, they either get close to or achieve the goal, and then after that it's kind of like, oh well, what the fuck do I do now?
Yeah.
It's like what do you do? Like what keeps you going for the next one? Like
Yeah.
you enjoy the process, so that's obviously helpful.
Mm-hmm.
When you enjoy it, obviously you're going to keep going back to doing the thing you enjoy. But
Mm-hmm.
what keeps you motivated, and what's kind of the thing that's keeping you focused going forward?
I suppose there's a good thing as well. So there's a chapter in the book about Conor McGregor, right? There has to be. That man is a role model to me,
Yeah.
solely because like he came from nothing, and
Yeah.
purely based on belief. Look at where he's gotten to. Like that man is
Yeah.
incredible. Strip away, the bus incident and insulting the entire countries and the fashion and all sorts of stuff. Like if you strip that away to solely martial arts, that man is incredible. And
Yeah.
I suppose going back to that, how do you stay motivated when you've achieved something? I talked about this in Conor's fight lead up to Cerrone, right, in January, where he said,
Yeah.
the times when we were against Habib, Nate Diaz, Floyd Mayweather, maybe, that, they were focused on, discrete goals, that, hey, I'm going to win a boxing match against the all-time great, I'm going to be two-weight world champion. I'm going to be this, I'm going to be that,
Yeah.
as opposed to systems-orientated goals. And John Kavanagh talks about this. I think he has an interview out there with Ariel Helwani in the lead up to the Cerrone fight where he talks about this. And it's about process, these systems-orientated goals is what he calls it, versus discrete goals. Discrete goals is, I'm going to write a book and I'm going to publish it out there and that's it, job done. I'm going to get a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and then I'm done, right? Like what else is there to achieve? As opposed to systems-orientated goals where you actually find something that you like doing. Conor McGregor likes to compete MMA. He's going to keep fighting MMA, right?
Yeah.
And that's it. Like he's not too concerned, like, the belts are nice, but he gets back into it because he loves doing it. And that's it, like if we talk about, one of the things I suppose when I first started working with you was I had a goal and I was like, I want to be absolutely fucking ripped, and that's like, okay, cool, we could get there, but what happens after it, right? It's so easy to slip off. And I suppose the one thing is about balance. Do it because you love it. Do it because it's good for you, and that's really it, do stuff. I suppose the one thing, that I realized, particularly over the past few months, is that I don't really care if people uptake this book, you know what I mean? It doesn't bother me, you know what I mean? Like I get a really, really nice kick about the nice messages, that I get, and, people take inspiration from the stories, but I don't write because of that. That's a nice to have. A gold medal is a nice to have. A book is a nice to have. But it doesn't distract from the process.
That's Nanny. Sorry, my little one keeps on popping in.
Don't worry about it.
No sense of privacy in this house anymore.
It's good though. People need to be more like kids.
Yeah, true. But yeah, like what you were saying there, like when it comes to like goal setting, about loving the process, that's one thing. Like one thing that like there's no black or white about that. People can, like, again, going back to simple terms like just coaching and training. People can come to the gym, if they hate it, they hate it.
Yeah.
It's going to be very hard to keep them motivated. Some people come into the gym and they're like, I fucking hate training. I hate doing this. It's like, well, okay, this is not a long-term thing for you. But if you can enjoy the process and enjoy it, for some people, it's not even the process of training. For some people, it's like, oh man, I love going in, I love the environment, I love having a bit of a laugh. This is a breakaway from the stresses of life and this, that, and the other. There's other elements of it. Like, I don't necessarily love stepping under 235 kilos and doing one rep, because let me tell you, it is not a comfortable thing. The bar digs into your skin, like the belt digs into your skin. The weight just feels like it's going to crush you every second. But I love the people that are involved in the training. I love the environment. I love the sensation you get after completing something like that. I love getting into a mind frame to do something like that. There's all these outside elements. It's not the actual thing itself. Conor McGregor doesn't like getting kicked in the face.
Yeah.
I don't. There's not many martial artists that do, and any of them that do, we can assume. But like, there's not many people like getting hit, but they love the process, the processes and the elements surrounding that.
That's it.
And that's where the love and the passion for that thing comes from. You don't necessarily have to love like a hard workout. You don't necessarily have to love those elements, but the things around it. If you enjoy elements of it, then that makes the actual process a little bit easier,
Yep.
Like as you were saying about what was it, structure goals, system goals,
systems orientated goals.
System
That's directly from John Kavanagh.
System orientated goals, and what was the other one?
Discrete goals.
Discrete goals. Okay, so that's cool, man. Like that's a real interesting perspective.
No, 100%. And like, look, there's a chapter in the book called The Myth of Mastery, right? And it talks about Diego Sanchez, right? Diego Sanchez is not one of the greatest fighters of all time, right? He hasn't been a title contender since 2009, right? That's over 10 years without the vague promise of fighting for a gold belt.
That was against BJ Penn, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He still does it. He has 39 professional MMA fights, if not 40 at this stage, right?
Yeah.
And like 20 of those have gone to judges' scorecards, So I think for the book, I actually went through all his fights, and he spent over 7 hours in a cage fighting throughout his life. Jeez. Over 7 hours, right? Like I went through all his fights, from day one, the pro MMA fights, and calculated out all the time.
Jeez.
And like, is he brain damaged? Possibly.
Probably.
But that's not necessarily what keeps him getting back into the cage, right? It's because he fucking loves to fight, and that's the thing. Like he's focused on fighting. He doesn't give a fuck about gold belts. He probably doesn't care. I've never heard, Diego Sanchez complain about money to the UFC.
Yeah.
Compensate me. The same thing Usman's doing right now with the UFC. Oh, yeah, cool. I'll fight on your island, your fight island. But make sure I'm compensated. We've never heard this from Diego Sanchez. He takes
never.
Like a week notice,
Yeah.
And that's because he loves what he does. And we can learn a lot from that.
Yeah. Learn what you do and it'll be easy to do. Anyway, that's one of the main things.
100%.
Yeah, that's great, Adam. Hopefully the book does much better than it already has, man. Like, I'll definitely be putting this out. As I said, I'm probably going to repurpose this as the first episode of a podcast. I have not decided the name of the podcast, but I will be putting this out to clients over the weekend. Hopefully it's well received. If they have any questions for you about the book, where to get the book, or just anything about yourself, where would guys or girls go to find out more information?
Everything you need to know about me, I suppose, and my book is available on my website. So it's adamxcorcoran.com. So that's adamxcorcoran.com. And you can find me on Instagram under adamxcorcoran. And that has a link to my website and my book.
Send those on to me at the end of this, and I will link it into the video itself. Hopefully some people pick up the book. They pick up something from the book that can help them out a little bit. Hopefully this conversation has helped them out a little bit in itself. And again, if people want to get in contact with you, I will put them onto the link for that. And best of luck with the book and everything in the future, buddy.
And then
really
last thing, just for your
go ahead.
You know, is
like
before so hopefully, you know, after this interview, you know, when people go back and they say, oh, Jesus, Adam was overweight, you know, I am now a machine because I train with Mark. So just to say that, you know, I just want to give a little plug. I feel like you're giving me the opportunity to plug my book here. I feel like
so you're going to plug me a little bit.
Change my goddamn life, Mark, you know.
Here's the thing, like most of the people
can't even fit
that. Look at that.
Look at that. Can't even fit that in the screen. It's too big. And that's because of Mark. I used to be a skinny, chubby judo player that people could like just knee on belly was my weakness when I started jiu-jitsu, you know. And after talking with Mark, you know, training with him, knee on belly is no longer an issue. You know, I remember actually the first time I realized that training with you was actually doing like me really good. You know, it was working wonders for me. There was a brown belt at the time. Back when I was like only a blue belt, I had just started training at SBG, and they were like really good knee on belly. You know, and they used to catch me with it all the time, and they just like wait there in that position. You know, they just have knee on belly into your sternum, and that was good night, Irene. Yeah. And I remember after like, I think about 3-4 months training with you, that I built up, like we had said, you know, knee work on my shoulders, my back, everything, that I had just kind of like framed, put my hand under his ankle, put my hand under his hip, and just like bridged, you know, and it was the first time ever that I had gotten out of this guy's knee on belly, you know, but I actually proved them, you know. So definitely training with Mark pays off.
Well, thank you for that, Luke.
You can cut that into a little 5-second segment. You know?
I'll just pop that. I'll just pop that onto my Instagram. We will, you know, to get that on social media. But like really appreciate you coming on, man. I hope people can get in contact. I hope the book does well. I will be reading through it in my spare time in isolation, because well, you know, there's plenty of time to get stuff done now. So again,
you write a book yourself.
Oh, Jesus.
If I can do it, anybody can do it.
Yeah, some people don't have much to say though. That's the issue.
Very true. Very true. 250 pages.
Oh, it's not even that much, man. You can get through that no bother.
Exactly. It's an easy read.
Yeah.
As John Kavanagh says, it's a gripping read. So there you go.
There you go. Nice forward from him.
Definitely.
What was it say there? I'll pop the links down underneath the video. I'll get people in contact with you. If people have any questions, they'll send them directly onto you, or they can give me a shout, and I'll get in contact with you.
Perfect.
And thanks for coming on again, buddy.
Appreciate it. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, Mark.
All right. Talk to you soon. Bye. Thanks, guys. There you go.